know if you're the owner.
Yeah, that's what I would guess too.
So it's going your way, you know. Dick Corsi.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
That started with Fred next door, and then.
Oh, really?
Frank's uncle.
Okay.
When we first moved in there.
That was the house that was burned down, wasn't it? They bought it, that couple bought and rehabbed that one? Is that like,
The little bitty house on the road,
oh, okay.
between me and Corsey's. That was Fred and Ethel, that's what I always said, but it's Ethel.
That's been a rental forever, hasn't it?
No, actually Frank is the nephew of the guy who lived there.
Okay.
The one on the other side, that had been around a lot, that was owned by Dave Stevens forever and ever and ever. And people.
That's when I had the horse, right?
Yeah, they had the horse.
Okay.
Well, that was Siemens.
Yeah. Joel and Lori.
Yep.
Uh-oh.
Horse got
Well,
this one.
and another person.
Garage.
Uh-oh, they screwed up the,
Or messing up your plan. Yeah, I looked out the window one day and went, there's a small horse in my backyard.
He was in our garage, and we have a back door with a window in it, so he saw that light, and he thought he was gonna see that thing up and go through. So he's just standing there, and he didn't know how to back up. And my wife started pulling into the car. She says, now what am I gonna do? So she blew the horn at it, and it cracked all over the floor. We got it out of there though. That was funny. They had all different examples. He raised minks. Had a whole bunch of pheasants up in there. Minks, rabbits.
At the time, I'm like, you can have a horse in the city? Probably not.
She wanted it for her fair. My daughter did. Like, what are you gonna do with it? We just little bitty thing, all good.
Yeah, we have ordinance on horses?
Against them,
Yeah.
Against them.
That's like a farm animal.
I would pick the neighbor's carrots.
No one, yeah. That was a lot of years ago, too.
Because they'd come around with the kids on the horse trick or treating.
Is Jeff coming?
No, he's not.
Jeff not, okay.
He said he'll be here for the regular meeting.
Oh, okay. All right, it's 5 o'clock. I call this work session to order. First up on discussion items is food vendors. Scott, you got me on there. And I think
Which
it's
one?
Mr. Brown.
I don't have him on there.
I do.
Okay, well,
I think it's kind of a carryover from the
Yes.
last meeting where I don't think there was any direction from council to make any significant changes to how food vendors are licensed and operate in the city. But Mr. Brown did email me and I think Brenda that he'd like discussion where food vendors would be banned from operating on Colby Street.
okay. Would you like to add anything to that, Mr.
Well,
Brown?
I just think some of them are kind of unsightly looking, and they're very large. They block view and everything else. I just don't care for them being there on Colby Street. I've had, I don't know how many different people come up to me over the last few months, almost all summer long, and asked why we allow them on Colby Street. So I just thought I would bring it up. I also don't think that we have a very good tracking on what we're doing as far as the food vendors go. I mean, I don't know if we're asking them to prove that they have insurance or if they have a state vendor's license or, I just it just sounds like we're asking them, to pick up after themselves and give us $250 and they can sell. I just think we need to be, I looked at some of the other cities' ordinances for food vendors. Need to be a little bit more stringent than what we're being. I don't know, Scott, can you elaborate on what we do ask them for, or if we ask them for a new thing?
Yep, they are required to have a food license from the county and get inspected by the fire authority for fire code compliance. Outside of that, there's not a whole lot that we require. I know when this came about, I mean, when they became popular, we did look at some of the other cities, Muskegon. You know, they were probably the same boat we were when they first appeared in Muskegon, but then they started to tighten down and started to increase their fees. But I don't know if they require a whole lot more than we do. And I think Montague is about the same.
I also like some of the other ones that I view ordinances for other cities that, they'd be 500 feet away from any brick and mortar food establishment. And I also think that that's very fair since they're not paying property taxes, they're paying a one-time annual fee of $250. And, you know, I think we should be looking out for the brick and mortar places that are in town that are paying taxes and a little bit more than we're looking at food vendors and trucks. That's about all I got as far as comments go. I don't know what anybody else's ideas are.
Does anyone else wanna weigh in on that one?
You should just leave it be for right now. I think if we do anything, we should set up a district like all other jurisdictions do. They'll pick a certain block area or certain areas in which they're allowed to set up, but I mean, I guess I'm speaking for Fetch, but I feel like Fetch was kind of big on trying to bring them downtown. It seemed like as far as their social media and that went, they were pushing to have those food vendors come to bring people to Fetch, so I don't know if they have anything to say about that.
I think a lot when they were asking food trucks to come to town because there were no options.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I certainly support options
Yeah.
for people that have food. Not everyone wants to go to a sit-down restaurant, I understand that.
Well, I think the fact that Fetch doesn't have food capability, they don't have it, you know, they don't have any place to have a kitchen, so they would have encouraged the food trucks to come in. I mean, people are getting whatever is available there and then taking it into Fetch.
Have we seen food trucks kind of parking themselves somewhere and becoming semi-permanent, you know, fixtures, or do they kind of just come and go?
Eklund owns some property on Colby that they are semi-permanent.
Yeah, so we do see both. There's a second one that has started to show up on a regular basis down here on Colby Street. But we also do have the ones that show up for a night or maybe a weekend. So yeah, we do have both. And I do know that two of the food vendor trucks eventually became brick and mortar establishments. One has since gone out of business, which is now the Gnarly Duffer. But you also have Rusty Morning Stars. When he started the food vendor business, he said he never wants anything to do with brick and mortar. He's changed his tune on that one.
Well, and that's an aspect that I think can be pretty positive. It can be almost like a business incubator. Just you start up, you grow, you eventually become more permanent, put down roots, and I wouldn't want to choke off that avenue for an entrepreneur.
And we're talking Colby Street, we're not talking downtown where they're putting these food trucks out, not on Colby Street downtown, more like this way by, well, I call it Old Plums, but
They've been downtown, they've been on Covey Street, they've been on North Mears. I don't think from a traffic issue, we've had any issues. I know early on, I think the chief had mentioned to one of the vendors that he would not be ticketed for driving against traffic, providing on the north side of Covey, his patron side was on the sidewalk and not out into the street. And we've since amended our rules and regs to require that. So they are on Covey Street, more often on North Mears.
Yes,
If I might add,
please.
to not only having sidewalk access, so people aren't standing out in the street, but if we can, wherever it ends up, that they don't have to cross the street, the less we have crossing streets, the better.
I think that's a good safety issue. If I was to weigh in, I would say I'm satisfied with the situation that we have now. I like to see the food trucks there, it brings people in. I think it's good for the entire downtown area to have people there. Whether they're buying beverages for the social district or at the food trucks, I think it's good to have foot traffic downtown. I think it's good for us. My vote would be to leave things as they are.
I guess as long as they're not interfering with, using up too much parking space or anything like that, which I'm thinking that they're not.
I don't think I've ever seen more than one downtown at once.
And I think there's been times we've had two, maybe one on North Mears and then one on Covey in front of Fetch.
Yeah.
But yeah, typically one, and it's not every night either.
And of course, you have the one on the 4th of July, sometimes at Napa or different places like that. But that, I don't probably have any problem with those things as long as they don't interfere with traffic or parking too much.
I'm trying to think of an instance where I might have seen one being in direct conflict perhaps with the brick and mortar business right next to it. I'm having a hard time thinking of an example. I've seen them parked quite a bit in front of Fetch, but that they more complement what Fetch has to offer. It's not like, a burger truck right in front of a burger restaurant. I mean, I don't, and I think they serve people different sort of clientele. If you're to a sit-down restaurant, I don't know, see them in direct
Offer totally
competition.
different food. I mean, the Ganyan guy, you're not gonna find anything in Whitehall that is Ganyan, so, I mean, it's
Yeah.
not really.
All right. I think we've talked this through. Next would be informational items. Do we have any? Think not. Okay.
I'm kind of at a loss to realize we didn't have any more backed up discussion items for work sessions. We must have everything settled.
Well,
There were a couple of items that Councilmember Holmstrom had brought up, and I've emailed them. They primarily dealt with the industrial park and Tifa. And he's agreed that those two bodies should probably consider his, I don't want to say issues, that sounds negative, his thoughts. So they'll bring those up at their October meeting.
Where are we at with sidewalks? I think I heard you were working on kind of figuring out what we have.
so the idea is to do a sidewalk survey. And yesterday I walked the length of Mears and made notes of sections that I thought needed attention, and the idea is that we would do the major streets first and then follow up with streets that kids walk to school on. I know Dick has had interest in doing that also. And Ryan gave me some forms, and the forms are pretty technical as far what the address is on it, so we can start with that. So that's kind of what I would like to do. Certainly welcome anybody to pick a street and walk it and take note of sidewalk conditions.
By ordinance, whose responsibility is the sidewalk?
By ordinance, we place that on the adjacent property owner,
Okay.
but this council has decided that unless it's something intentional, then the city would cover any repairs. So if it's just normal wear and tear or a tree busting something up and the roots coming up, then it
Well,
would be
like
on the
regular
city.
construction equipment or something like
Yeah.
that.
It'd be on the city. And I know that the DPW crew, with the mayor's assistance, has been out doing an inventory, but it's not been super high on their list. But I do hope Brian, once a month, to keep getting the guys out there, and I think Don has been out there quite a bit, Don Bond, so.
Do we have any idea per square foot what it's gonna cost for someone to come in and do it?
To do the work,
Yeah.
it used to be $5 a square foot, but that's kind of a pre-COVID number.
Right.
Everything's gone
So
up.
15 is what you're saying?
Yeah, we figured about $25 a lineal foot, cause our sidewalk panels are 5 by 5,
Hmm.
so you're probably looking closer to $40 now per lineal foot.
How much should we set aside for that? 60?
I thought it was 30.
60?
No.
I think we doubled it up to about 30
30.
Yeah,
throughout the city. Cause we used to do about 10 and we bumped it up and then bumped it up again. And there's-
We've done any this year,
We have not done any that won't be part of street construction. And that's what some of it is too, if we can do it as, since we got somebody pouring curbs or doing other cement work on a street project, we wait and add that,
Right.
to that project.
What I was kind of guessing is we'd hopefully get a fairly comprehensive sidewalk survey this year, and then sit down and say, okay, where's the priorities, and hit it hot and heavy next spring.
Are we in a minority as far as paying for it versus property owners? I know like the North Muskegon a while ago, it fell on the property owner and city paid for it and they divided up how many every year's on property tax.
Yeah, we have not done any special assessments in forever. And I don't know if I think the $30,000 a year is not a hit on our budget, and I think that will go a long way towards improving the sidewalks without squeezing the adjacent property owners. But are we in, I'm not really sure what other communities do.
Just curious.
But we can check with.
I mean, once we have the survey done, we'll have a better idea what the total cost of everything will be. If 30,000 is gonna be 5% of what needs to be done annually, we're gonna have an issue.
Well, let's realize, this isn't anything, the sidewalks didn't get the way they are overnight.
Right.
They're not gonna get fixed overnight.
Right.
But if we can put aside, like Scott said, I think we budgeted 30,000, we can do that every year and religiously get out there in the spring and spend that 30,000 and fix enough sidewalks, that money will cover. 5, 6, 7 years down the road, we're gonna have some pretty good sidewalks.
Well, and I'm not exactly 100% for taking the special assessment off the table. If maybe we share it with the,
Maybe with 50/50
do a
or something.
50/50. I think first we need to find out, okay, how many sidewalks would need to replace, at what cost? How much would it cost to do that? I mean, I certainly would be willing to help pay for sidewalks in front of my house. I know there's people that don't want to or maybe can't afford to, but I don't think at this point we should take it completely off the table. I think the information should, first is how much is it gonna cost us to do it? And then how much would it cost to special assess?
Does that include the asphalt trail along the lake, along Lake Street down there? Is that considered sidewalk or?
think that's totally different, but that brings up my next discussion item that I'd like to bring up, is that portion between the river bridge and the Chamber of Commerce. I don't know if anyone's walked that lately, it's bad. It's real bad, and I'm concerned about safety for people walking. Nothing, obviously, it's too late in the year to, I think, to rip it up and start over, but if we could do some kind of grinding or pounding down of it to make it a little safer for walkers for this year, and then commit to replacing it next year.
Is there anything we can do to prevent the willows from popping that? That's pretty much what it is, isn't it?
Rip the roots, dig it up and dig the roots out and start over. That's my understanding of what needs to be done.
That sounds pricey.
Well, I mean, in order, the same equipment that they need to basically remove the asphalt would be the same equipment that they would be using to just dig the dirt out and the roots and, I mean, that trail lasted a long time. Pretty, I don't know, 20 years? It's lasted a long time, so I think now's the time to certainly, it needs to be fixed. We're getting to the point where the weather's cooling down, people are walking more, and I don't know if you walked it, I would encourage everyone to walk it. It's terrible. I mean, especially in the evening, I wouldn't want to
Oh,
walk
I
it.
wouldn't walk it at night.
So,
No, excuse me, I've got to agree with Steve on that. I mean, admittedly, I haven't been out on the trail that much this summer, but I did do the bridge walk on Labor Day, and I walked over and then came back, and you really got to watch yourself.
there was a gentleman that fell on, tripped on one of those
I am
things.
not surprised.
Yeah.
I mean, even Amy warned people,
Yeah, she
before we
did.
started
Yeah,
that,
please
you
be
know,
careful.
watch yourself, because there was some high buckles in that asphalt.
Yep.
Is
If there's
that
anything
a
we can do
possibility for DNR funding to assist with that at all, or?
We can look into it, but way back when, the city assumed all future maintenance of it.
Oh, okay.
That's not to say there probably won't be any legislative appropriation, but there could be some grant funding.
Does any of that fall into Tiffin?
No, not that section. Oval Park's outside of Tifa.
If we could do something about those roots to, where they won't just be popping up again a couple years after the fix, that would be nice.
Isn't there a fund for Koval Park from the community foundation?
There is, we are allowed to spend the annual interest. We just spent that to buy the binoculars, which was about $3,000. That's not gonna do
It's not gonna do the trail, no.
to fix that.
I think it's something that we certainly wanna look at, plan for next year. See if we can't do something this year to make it safer to walk on.
Since we got time, I just wanted
We
to
have time, yes.
ask, this push button valve or whatever is gonna be on the fire pit down there, is that scheduled, or is that, where are we with that?
Right, it's here. We got some estimates and Brooke did a little shopping and got it for half. It's in there, right? And I was talking about that. So Brooke was able to find the same exact, switch. That was what, $300 and some? Yeah, so she was able to find the same exact switch for a lot less. So we have the switch, we just have to hook up with an electrician to install it.
I think that's, natural gas is up, probably close to double what it was a year ago, and it's supposed to get, quite a bit worse than that this coming winter. And so I'm thinking, that, a lot of time that fire is going, there's nobody
Right.
around, and if you could, just have it go when there's, somebody pushes the button, once that
fire, I bet you, would save quite a lot.
I think that's a great idea.
We should have that installed before it gets really cold.
Yeah.
Is the timer adjustable for how long we allow it to run for?
It was up to 2 hours, so we can adjust it anywhere from, I don't know if it's in 10-minute increments or what, but they had a 2 hour and an 8 hour. So we bought the 2 hour, and I think it's
I think that's,
kind of like most switches. I think we can preset
15
it.
minutes or half an hour?
Yeah,
or
20
something?
minutes.
I'm thinking 20 minutes would be probably plenty
If
fine.
they're still hanging out there, you can just keep pressing
Yeah,
it.
press the button.
Just like the splash pad.
Yeah, right, that's 4 minutes.
That's a button.
With the electrician, of course, I talked to electricians and had them say, oh yeah, why don't we have a button on there? And I said, well, we need somebody to install it, you wanna do that? Oh yeah, sure, well, now I'm hearing crickets, so. Or everybody's busy, nobody has time, so. So, I don't know. We're gonna have to find somebody to sign up to,
It'd be nice to get it done before
yes.
cooler weather starts
Yes.
getting here, instead of running it the whole time, like we did last year or whatever.
Anything else?
Well, since we don't have a whole lot of items, I don't know if Scott can give any kind of update on where's the property down by the trestle that Tannery Bay wants to give to the city for
Public access.
for their public access to the lake. Are we anywhere with that?
There's nothing new. Nick McGraw did take a look at the Conservation District plans, and he was thinking a little more scaled down development, and that his crews could probably do a lot of that work. But we haven't really finalized anything. It's just still waiting for him to really get some time to take a look at it.
Probably not gonna happen this year.
Probably not. And I know his last timeline was that it would be fully built out by next December, which would include phase 3 and that little strip where, potentially that piece of property could become owned by the city for the public access. So I guess you're looking at probably about a 16-month window. We don't wanna go back in there once all that's developed. May as well do it while it's still accessible.
We haven't seen engineering on that yet, phase 3, so, as far as I know.
No, I think, it's still part of the plan unit development, but as they go along, they tweak the details a little bit. But you're right, we haven't seen, there's, I think the furthest point is that house right on the corner. That's been waiting for siding for a couple of months. I think that's the extent of all the street and utility work.
All right, well, then open it up to public comment. Anyone?
Kim Sear, County Commissioner for the Great White North here. There's a few things that we've have had handed to us recently. This is Muskegon County 2023 budgeted tax dollars at work. So this is kind of in a nutshell where your tax dollars are going. I've only got a few of these, but you guys can share them. And the other thing I wanted to make a comment on was that I guess next week there's I don't know who's declared it, but there's a Muskegon County Septic System Awareness Week, I guess you'd call it. And one of the things, we had a presentation by Michael Eslick, who is the public health guy that goes out and inspects septic systems and so forth. And we've got a lot of people that live close to the water, and so there's some concern in some areas that, they're not maybe maintaining their septic systems properly. So I'm gonna give this to Mayor, and I have that in a PowerPoint. If you want, I can send that to you, and you can send it to whoever you want. And that's just basically, he basically took a half hour going over what a septic system is, what's in there.
Would you send that to our city clerk?
Yeah.
So she can disperse it to our council?
Yeah, sure. I'll do that, I'll send that
And this
PowerPoint.
one as well.
Yeah, I can do
Thank you.
that too. So I just wanted to present that to you guys, so.
Thank you. Anyone else? Public comment? No. All right. Nothing, no one else has anything they wanna talk about?
I guess if it's not out of line, jumping ahead a little bit, but in our correspondence, for our packet tonight, there's, I'm sure you probably all saw it, a review from city attorney, about the grass ordinance.
Yes, saw that.
I don't, reading over that, it looks like we're right in line with most of the communities in the area. But I do have to, want to make sure. I do have to say that I was amazed, reading through here, that the city of Montague prohibits growth of grass more than 16 inches.
Saw that.
What was that number? I'm sorry.
16
16
inches.
inches.
Lots of farmers in that.
Well,
Talk about
was it grass or hay?
I was gonna say,
Hey, yeah.
at 16 inches, they've got to bail it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm not knocking Montague at all, because I mean, they've got some very well kept.
We love our friends across the river.
Yeah.
I think there's also says, or every 3 weeks, doesn't it?
Yeah, well,
Or once every 3 weeks.
yeah, if they mow it at least every 3 weeks, why they're not cited. But I'm sure they don't have very many violations of that, restrictions.
Talking about this, Will maybe can elaborate a little bit or whatever. The ones, I can't remember, down north, I think it was North Muskegon, North Muskegon was one of them, City of Muskegon might have been another one. There were 2 or 3 of them on there that in March, they post what the ordinance rules are.
Right.
And it appears you do not have to let them know anything after the fact of posting it. If it's a violation, the city goes and mows it, and it's on their bill.
Right.
Period.
Yeah, and I talked with John Schreier in my office, who works a lot with these other municipalities, and they've never had issues with that, of any kind of enforcement, or people saying they didn't get properly notified or anything. So that's an option. And I recall that was one of the questions that was raised last time, was have to send out a new notice each time, and then by the time they get the notice, they fixed it and all that. So that is something that some other places have.
And I think something like that would solve a lot of our issues that we, on the continuous same 3, 4, 5 places in town every year that need to be reminded every month and a half that, you know, their lawn doesn't, you know, meet the ordinance. You know, I mean, we're trying to go for compliance all the time, but, you know, with some people it works and some people it doesn't. And the same ones every year it doesn't work with, that would solve the problem. If you posted it in March and their yard gets out of control, you just send the city over there and mow it, put it on their bill.
My only concern with that is our city crews have got enough work of their own to do without having to go to somebody's yard and mow their lawn.
Hire an outside contractor to do it. It doesn't make any difference. The cost goes to the person.
Right.
And I believe that's what we've done in the past. We've hired private contractors. I mean, it hasn't happened a whole lot, but we've done that in the past.
So there is precedent for doing that. We have the ordinance to,
I would think that, I mean, I'd hate to have to go to that extreme, but I would think that, one or two times of having to pay their price, you know, to have somebody coming in and mowing it, that people would start taking care of it on their own.
all right?
We've got one other thing, that presentation that we saw a couple weeks ago from the firm that was going to tell us everything that's wrong with our building, so to speak.
Yeah.
I was not super impressed. I was curious if city staff could go through and make a punch list of items that are obvious, because that presentation was really a lot of obvious things. I don't think we need to pay someone to come up with those items. If city staff would be able to formulate a list, and we can kind of look at that and see how we go about trying to fund some of those items to improve efficiency and energy conservation, those other items. I think, like Scott said, it's obvious that we have single pane glass, you know, let's look at that. Hey, we know this building isn't insulated, or we haven't done LED upgrades, or whatever. And kind of have some sort of a starting point. I was thinking that after all that time had gone by, that they were going to provide us a little bit more of a comprehensive idea of what was going on, other than, hey, hire us, we'll find things to save you money. That's kind of impression I got from that. I didn't know if that was something that you guys could look at.
The answer to that is yes, we can. I've spoken and emailed with Mr. Staplosa a number of times since that presentation. And the process right now, from our perspective, and I know Will has chimed in as far as the MDA management something agreement.
Yeah, I can remember that.
Basically, at your next council meeting, you'll have the option to approve or reject a proposal to retain them under the government service account system, which is, it's services. We do that with police cars. I think you're familiar with that, and with some trucks where the state of Michigan bids it out, and we just, you know, chime in on those prices. Along with the MD&A. The MD&A had a number of concerns, and I think Will and I picked on the same three. One of which was they referred to two appendices. Neither of which were attached. And we did that way more than I wanted to with some property that we're acquiring. There was also a footnote that it's proprietary information and we cannot release that to anybody without their express written approval, which flies in the face of the Freedom of Information Act. So they're working to I guess, I don't know what they're gonna do, they're gonna work on it, is what they told us. The other is, so the process is, if we go that direction, we retain them under an MD&A, at which point they will put together the project plan, which is, I think, what you're referring to, the nuts and bolts, exactly what are we going to be doing. But if we get to that point and we decide we don't want to go any further because staff can do it ourselves, or the economics just aren't there, then we would owe them, Brian and I refer to it as an exit fee, to pay for that MD&A. That's been the elusive piece of this whole puzzle, and my first response to Terry was, there is no way staff is going to recommend that we put this before council with a blank or to be determined. Because I know there were some questions raised, what is this going to cost us? And I think there was a 7 to 9% pay range, which is not totally unheard of. It's like engineering proposals. If you got $1 million street project and it's a 15% engineering, then you've got $150,000 in cost. I mean, but at least you got both sides of the equation. So Brian and I have been discussing a lot of this. In fact, today we were running numbers. One of their biggest proposals is to switch out all of our water meters all at once. The idea is that we would have all the same meters, and they'll be, I think Brian says, when they come out of the package, they're at 102% accurate. And over time, water meters will slow down, like some of us. I'll just pick on myself, nobody else in the room. And that, Brian and I ran the numbers, and that's about a $560,000 expense, plus the installation, so that's about $1 million. Terry has often said that what the proposal would be, we'll give you this whole list, you bond it, you get it all done right away, and you just pay off the debt, and with the payoff of the debt, you're still saving money. We're not really sure, obviously with the water meters, we're not gonna save money, but we would capture all of the revenue that's due us. But DPW is pretty sharp, as well as Jake out at DPW. We kind of notice variances in what's actually being billed, and Brooke too. Sorry, Brooke.
$1 million is a lot of revenue just to make up in the next
Well,
10,
if you
12
you know,
years.
if you bond, if it's $1 million, you're probably not gonna want to bond for more than 10 years. Because obviously the interest will kill you. So, we're still putting it together. I think when we get the MD&A, we'll run it by Will for his final approval, because it's a contract. And it's quite unusual. A lot of our standard engineering contracts, as long as there's no changes, they're kind of routine. So at your next meeting, I think, because that's what we were targeting, and Terry left me a message this afternoon that he's gonna be out of town for a while and may not be able to put everything together for the 27th. So at a very near future council meeting, you'll have a recommendation from staff, whether or not to proceed, and then obviously you would have the option to accept that recommendation or go against it. And right now, Brian and I are having, we're not really raising that flag really high. We just don't see that the cost savings is gonna be there to hire a firm to put this together. Now, I know I've talked to Kurt Babcock, who's the North Muskegon superintendent, and they did great. He said their savings, they were able to buy a couple of school buses with the cash they saved. The same person, Terry did work for Siemens, and it, you know, probably seen a few of their commercials, that they're, you know, worldwide company. They do a lot of energy conservation projects. But Terry left and he's with ABM now. So we're probably leaning on the same track you are, Councilmember Heidelberg.
I just, if you take a picture of an old AC unit outside and say it needs to be replaced, we all know that it's not efficient. I just was expecting something a little bit more in depth than that.
Well, and Brian's pretty good. He came in the other day and he said, man, that one AC unit sounds bad. So, and we didn't pay Brian any extra for that.
I guess I was misunderstood when we were gonna do an energy audit or whatever. I was thinking we were gonna have people come and look at our buildings and tell us where, you know, I mean, he had parking lots in there and, you know, I don't know, the water meters and all this other stuff was in there that I guess it wasn't what I thought it was gonna be.
Well, that's not the focus of it. The focus, they seem to be focused on water meters. We also talked yesterday, about the lift stations. I don't necessarily think we need to, we already know lift station 2 is on its last leg. I don't think we really need to have a company come in and tell Prine and Newhoff that it's on its last leg and we need to replace it. The energy is still part of it, weatherization, HVAC, that is part of it, but it's a small part, and before his presentation, I told Terry, I said, that's what our focus is, where we wanna be. Save money and save some energy costs, and be more environmentally friendly, and from what I understand, that was not anywhere near his presentation.
It isn't what I got out of it anyhow.
So,
And I argued with him and got nowhere with it anyhow, but he probably heard that too.
well,
I mean, you know, my point with him that they still didn't get was they had a specific number that we were gonna save as a minimum. I believe it was $67,000 or something like that. And, was it 670? I can't remember what it was. But anyhow, they had a specific number of what our minimum savings was gonna be. But yet he couldn't tell me what he was gonna charge the city to save that much money. And I'm a numbers person, and if you have a number here, you can't not have numbers over here to come up with that number. And he said, well, it depends on what the projects, what we're gonna do and what we're not gonna do. Well, that isn't what this says over here. This says we're gonna save this much money as a minimum. So you had to use something to come up with that number. And that's the number that he wouldn't give me.
Yep, that is an elusive number.
Other than 7 to 9%.
Yeah, 7 to 9%. Well, if we do the MD&A, they'll give us the project that will say it's a $5 million project, and you'll say, however much. So their 7 to 9 would be based upon that total project. But they want us to guarantee by the exit fee number, which we don't have either, we don't have two numbers. They want us to pay them to tell us what they can save us in the future. Again, that exit fee is one that we would strongly recommend against council signing a contract that has an indefinite number. And that's what Terry said he's gonna work on. So I don't know what that number is, but the MD&A will have a fixed number. If we move forward and we get to the project and we say, no, we don't wanna do all of this stuff because we can do it ourselves, or the cost isn't there, then we write them a check for that MD&A cost. So there's two big cost numbers that are unknown at this time.
The break fee only gets paid if you don't go forward. If you do go forward, in essence, gets rolled into the final cost.
Yep.
But the break fee is not the 7 to 9%. That's some flat
Correct.
fee.
Yep, that's a flat fee. So yeah, we won't know what his cost will be until he gives us that project plan with the total project cost and then his 7 to 9%. But we'll already be on the hook for some amount, whether we go forward or not.
Is there something with them pushing the water meter deal? Is there something in water meters that makes them a lot of money or something?
Not the numbers Brian and I ran. I mean, that's $560,000. If they're making 9% on that's almost not even worth their time and effort. That would be about $35,000, $36,000 for their commission just on that. So, no, and Brian's big concern, and probably Don's, is if you're replacing all of your meters today, at some point in the future, you're gonna have to replace all of them again. So it's instead of a little bit at a time, much like the police cruisers, I know Chief would like to buy 4 brand new cruisers every time. But we stagger that out. Same with pickup trucks at DPW. I can't imagine any community that can afford to replace all their meters, all their squad cars, all their pickup trucks at the same year. I mean, even schools with their buses. Whitehall's probably got 20, 24 buses. They don't buy them all at once. So that's kind of a big concern with Brian too. Is it might look great now, but 20 years from now, when Don's still working and Brian and I are retired and living in Florida, he's gonna have to deal with it.
So a lot of time with new utility meters comes with it the ability to more automate the meter reading process. Where are we at with that, or where are we good?
Most of our meters, I think, are all automated with automatic reads. So we're,
No
I
gains
guess
to be made there.
we're, I don't know if we're top of the line, but we're where we should be with technology.
All right. I think we'll adjourn the meeting so we can get things moved over to the council, so meeting
You
adjourned.
got a hand up back
Oh,
there.
yeah, okay, please. What do you got, Lillian?
That update on High Street.
Are you giving it, or I thought,
I want you to do it this time.
I think I might have mentioned to council, and Dan Sork does send out the weekly. They are, looking to start putting Lewis and Lakeview Street back together. They're laying the gravel, they might have already completed that. Last week, they anticipated pouring the curb Monday, and Dave, who's with Prime and Newhoff, he's the on-site guy, he says, you're not gonna be ready to do that. So they're still moving along. You know, part of that project is they've started replacing the water laterals over on Peach Street as part of the Peach and Wilshire. We're doing that, you know, the state mandate is we gotta get rid of any old copper lines. So they've started that, so probably another couple of weeks before they're really putting that all back together.
All we need is cement. The cement's particularly good day, make the curtain. Something going to do.
Yep, but all the underground is done.
Right.
It's closed off there, even though people think they could drive through there, it's kind of closed off at this intersection of Lakeview and Lewis. Can't drive through there.
Yep. Yeah. And then Scott here.
Was Jeff just not coming to the work session?
He should be here, is what I thought I heard.
Are you the new Brenda tonight?
I am. Brenda was not feeling very good today.
gotten better at giving us mind built. We used to have.
Right where you wanna put your chair.
Yeah, well.
Every time I look at that flag when we do the pledge, I keep seeing that panel pop up like that. But I guess now's not the time to try and fix it.
Poked up or?
Yeah. The only way you can,
Oh, is there? Okay.
I'm too short. I'd need a ladder to do it.
I don't think I'm tall enough either. Sean, get over here. I think we could delegate that. Sean, fix that panel. We can't reach it. It drives him crazy.
There, problem solved.
I bet you it has something to do with,
How long's it been like that? Like 10 years?
well, it's been that way for quite a while.
Yep.
And we need to,
At the end of the meeting. At the end of the meeting.
That's how we
is when
make sure
sign
you
them.
stay through the whole thing.
Yes.
okay.
Make you sit through the whole meeting though.
Yeah, I don't know. Dick had us move it. Didn't it used to be over there or was back here in the middle?
What,
What's
the
that?
flag?
Flag for a
Flag
while.
should be over there.
Yeah, I know, but you're the one that corrected where we did have it, didn't it used to be over here, or if it was, I can't remember, but ever since it's been back over here, that panel's been popped up like that, that just drives me nuts.
Well, I'm
Probably
glad I
has-
could be of service.
It probably has something to do with when the air kicks on or something like that, it probably, maybe there's a suction or something
I
like
think
that.
somebody just bumped it when they were setting the flag in
That's what I'm
place.
guessing.
I can't miss a week. Fine, if it's 6 inches, I mow my grass at 4 already.
Short grass is thirsty grass.
I don't think 6 inches is right for
Shades it.
any municipality
Much water.
ordinance.
Exactly.
I mean, I don't
That's why
think
mine's a
people
little bit longer,
realize-
to save Ryan out.
You know, what, a lot of people don't realize what they cut their grass at in the first place, you
Yeah.
know, lengthwise.
Sprinkler system.
I mean, you look at some of the stuff that
June, I think I ran
that the city cuts,
a couple times for the garden.
like with the pole behind the tractor one.
Had timely
The
rain,
lowest that goes is 4 inches.
once we got past June.
You know, I mean,
Seems like, oh, it's starting to get
almost in
dry.
violation
Well, and
right
what-
after you mow it.
And what are you measuring? Are you referring to the average height of the grass, or are you referring to that one little patch of crabgrass over here that grows faster than everything else?
Yeah, that's
Yeah, that dandelion stem's gonna be more higher than 6, so.
You know, you see all kinds of yards, the grass is only that tall.
Right.
It's the
Yeah.
stems that are a foot tall, you
Yeah.
know, that,
Weeds. Yeah.
That's the worst part of weeds in a yard, because they grow so much faster than the grass.
and then you get the people that think the shorter they mow their lawn, the less they'll have to mow it. But the shorter you mow your lawn, the more weed growth you get, because there's no grass there to choke out the weeds. The longer you mow your lawn, the less weeds you have,
It's almost like you know something about this
because,
stuff.
because the grass will choke out the weeds.
I've had my mower set on the highest setting since the day I bought it and never lowered it. Well, maybe in the fall when I'm trying to
Doing
mulch leaves.
From sticking
stuff
into
up.
it.
Yeah, yeah.
Jeff texted me, he said he's on his way.
okay. We got some.
I told him he's got 3 minutes, hurry up.
And then the door's locked.
Turn the sirens on.
So we don't have to excuse him.
Dock him a little bit of his pay or something.
Yeah.
You lose $5 tonight.
thing about all the time that we had at the work session, you took care of all the messages of council, at least anything that I had tonight.
Yeah. And that's okay.
That's a better place to discuss it anyway.
Yeah.
1759.
Ooh,
Oh, it just hit 1800 right there.
One meeting to another.
We're debating how much to dock you, but
Fire Authority Board meeting, I mean, it's just like, come
I
on.
know,
Ugh,
we're kidding.
they wanna talk. You ready, Jeff? Yeah, I took a break.
All right.
It's 6 o'clock. I call this meeting to order. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, first up is approval of the agenda.
I'll move to approve the agenda.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any comments? All those in favor, say yes.
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 Opposed, say no. Agenda is approved. Next is the consent agenda.
I'll move for the approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any questions, comments? All those in favor, say yes.
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 Opposed, say no.
No.
Consent agenda is approved. Next, we have messages from the mayor, council, and city manager. Let's start with the city manager. Do you have anything for us, Scott?
I do not, Your Honor.
All right. Keith?
I think we covered everything in
Okay.
work session.
Well, we'll just give everybody an opportunity. Steve?
That's what I was thinking too, except that, I'm glad to see they finally got the bike path done down there by the,
Yes, isn't that wonderful? Nice
Yes.
and dry. Yes.
perfect. That's it.
Nothing.
Sean?
Nothing.
Scott?
Back on the grass ordinance deal that we did talk about down there. I don't know, what do we gotta do to maybe look at revising our grass ordinance? Make a motion to revise it, or? I would like ours to be like some of the other cities are, and you post it in the paper in March, and that's it. You don't need to give anybody any written or verbal notices that their yard doesn't meet the ordinance anymore. You just, whenever you feel it's out of line, you send a crew in and mow it.
If a majority of the council wants to make that amendment to the ordinance, then it would probably take a motion and support, and then Will can draft something up for formal adoption.
So do we need it as a discussion item again, or do I just need to make a motion now to revise it?
Whichever you're comfortable with. If you feel that there's been enough discussion, then a motion would be appropriate.
Well, Jeff wasn't at the other meeting, so. Why don't we just discuss it again at the next meeting again, one more time? It won't do us any good this year, but maybe we can get it figured out before next spring. That's it for me.
Jeff?
City manager and I spoke about, Mr. Hollister came up a couple weeks ago, talking about the ADA. Was that discussed at the meeting?
No, that was not.
In speaking to the city manager, lo and behold, we find out that is included in the facade grant program. So next time anybody sees Mr. Hollister or he comes up and speaks about it, that is also a allowable expense within the facade grant program. So if any of these business owners in the Tifa district want to make more compliance towards ADA, they just have to make an application to the facade grant program. So I thought that was, when I found that out, I'm like, ooh, yeah, great. So I just wanted to make it public for everybody that's here, so. And I think that's it.
Any business owners that wanna upgrade their entrance ways or to comply with ADA, submit a request to the Tifa, right?
Yep.
All right, that's great. As far as, myself, I'm, once again, very happy to see that the new, replacement for the trail is done. It's dry, everybody's happy, I'm happy. As I said in the, work session, now I wanna see the other portion repaired, or at least made safe for the season. We talked about that, Jeff, at the,
Grind it up and
Grind it up,
put
pound it
another
down.
top, a top layer down.
well, I don't know about if we're gonna get a top layer down.
I don't know how thick it is, so I don't know.
Yeah, I think they've pounded it down twice so far this year, so it's, you know, it's not a lot more that it can do, but it's pretty bad right now, so. All right. Next is, let's see, designation of Mlk Delegate. What do we have to do with that, Scott?
The Michigan Municipal League is actually gonna be in Muskegon this fall for their annual convention. And there's always a business meeting, which they ask any communities that are gonna be attending to designate a representative to attend and vote and an alternate. And as of right now, I believe Mayor Salter and myself are the only two attending. So typically, standard procedure is to have the mayor as the alternate, I'm sorry, as the delegate. And if any council members plan to go, they can also serve as the alternate, or you can bestow that honor upon me.
Do we need a motion for this?
Yes, please.
I'll move to designate Mayor Salter as the delegate with Mr. Hubler as the alternate.
Second?
Second. Moved and seconded. Any discussion? I guess not. Thanks. Thanks, guys.
Obviously, it doesn't have to be a council member to be a
No.
delegate. It's just any city staff.
Any representative of the city.
Happy to represent our fine city, so. All those in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, say no. All right. I'm the delegate. Thank you. Next is public comment. Please step up to the microphone, give your name, address, and you have 3 minutes to make a comment.
Good evening, I'm Tamara Horn, and I live in the city of Whitehall. I have mainly just an informational piece tonight. There's upcoming an electronics recycling curbside drop-off. It's going to be at the Montague Farmers Market, and it's on September 24th from 2 to 4. You can bring all those old cell phones, old computers. You just can't bring large appliances, and you can't bring cathode ray tube TVs.
I knew you were gonna.
I
say
know, that's the
cathode
one
ray tube.
thing that's really hard to get rid of. But you can bring all those mysterious cords that you don't know where they go anymore. And the cost is very small, $2 for 10 items or $5 for an entire carload. So I did bring some printed out flyers if you think you might be interested or you might want to share it with other people. I have a handful that you can post around. Thank you.
Yes, that would be great.
We'll put it on our website too.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anyone else would like to comment? All right, we'll move on to old business. Do we have any old business?
We do not.
Just some old guys.
Yes.
New business, resolution 2243 broadband survey. Does anyone want to make a motion?
I'll move to put it on the floor.
It's been moved. Do we have a second?
Oh, what the heck, second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Anyone have comments, discussion on this broadband survey?
Like I know how it's gonna go already.
I'll just make the same comment I made when she made the presentation, that I feel that you're asking the city of Whitehall to, or they are asking the city of Whitehall to give way more than, I mean, I believe there was 27 municipalities in the county, and you take the 27 and divide it out by what they want, that's a fair share. She already said there was, 4 or 5 places that they contacted that said they weren't gonna participate. So that just ups it for everybody else, and I don't feel that that's fair. Same thing that we ran into with Matt's with the buses when they used to run up here. So my feeling is that's too high of an amount of money. But that's just my personal feeling.
Well, I guess I'm along the same lines with Councilmember Brown. The city of Whitehall has internet capability. Anybody that wants it, it's available to them. So I don't know what the survey is going to benefit us. The outlying areas, I'm all for getting that service out there to them, but I don't see why our citizens should have to pay for a study that isn't going to benefit us.
My first reaction when we heard about this was I would have preferred the ask be proportional to the population of the different municipalities. I mean, we're not on the same size scale as Norton Shores, Muskegon, or Muskegon Charter Township. They're given 10 grand. I mean, they're 10 times the size of us. I thought that was out of line.
I think she said the county, I see Mr. Sears back there, I think that she said the county was looking at 25,000, Mr. Sears? Oh, he's deep in thought back there. The broadband, did they ask the county for 25,000, I think is what she told us during? Okay, I know you got a lot of numbers going on right now, so, yeah, I know. But again, disproportionate, as far as I'm concerned, so.
I do believe she said they would take anything that they would,
Yeah.
that we would be willing to give. But I guess who's paying, if you're asking each specific place for a certain amount of money and somebody says no, then what happens to the project? She just didn't seem to have an answer for that.
I'm looking.
To back up what Dick said, I've got high-speed internet at home. It's plenty fast. I wish the costs were a little bit lower, but I don't see a lower cost coming out of this. I think they're just looking to fill in gaps of coverage.
The only way would be, because I had asked her the question, and she said it could open up for competition to come in, somebody else set up another service. If you've got competition, naturally you're gonna 9 times out of 10 get lower prices. But there's no guarantee to that, and there's no reason why we couldn't get competition now without a study.
But cable companies, they know not to compete.
Yeah,
They stop.
no,
So doing the quick number, it's $5,074 if everybody's contributing the same amount, not 10,000, so half of that.
so,
I have 2 reasons to oppose it. One is, who does it benefit? Obviously, it's not gonna benefit the city of Whitehall or the residents of the city of Whitehall, as far as I can tell at all, because as you said, we've got it throughout the whole city. So it benefits the people out in the far ends of the county and if they wanna do that, and another reason I oppose it is because I think that's like government stepping on the toes of free enterprise, and I think if it's up to free enterprise to offer this to them, then they can do that. I don't see why we have to, as a government, or as a county government, offer this service in competition with free enterprise, more or less.
I did a little research and Scott can, if I'm wrong on it, the things I saw is that broadband is an ARPA funded, ARPA fund, it's available. You can use ARPA funds for this, so that, convenient. Seems like everybody got all this money and now, you know, type of thing, but that's my 2 cents. If there's no more discussion, we'll have a roll call vote on that.
Sickinga,
No.
Malali,
No.
Holmstrom,
No.
Brown,
No.
Connell,
No.
Heidelberg,
No.
Salter.
No. Okay. Next up is Resolution 2244, capital improvements.
I'll move to approve or put to the table Resolution 2244, capital improvements.
I'll second it.
Seconded. Any comments, questions? Coming from the last meeting, at the Fire Authority, and Councilmember Heidelberg will tell you, the amount the items are going up currently with the current economy and everything else. Fire apparatus are going up about 6% every 6 months. The air packs went up 36% last year. I'm just looking at the pipe in there, and it's the same concept. I mean, you gotta get it while you can get it right now, and if we don't, we're gonna be behind the 8 ball.
So this is just basically, we're just buying early is all we're
Yep,
doing, right?
yep.
To save money?
And to have it.
Well,
Anytime too.
in the long run.
Right now, they're saying that pipe is 12 to 18 months out from date of order to delivery.
Yeah.
So that, as well as trying to get it before the price becomes unmanageable.
And you get it now at the price you can get it, and hope
Yep.
by the time you get it, it'll be twice as much.
That's not accounting if we have a railroad strike.
Crazy world we're living in right now. Any further comments on that? All right, roll call, please.
Sickinga,
Yes.
Heidelberg,
Yes.
Holmstrom,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Malali,
Yes.
Connell,
Yes.
Salter.
Yes. Resolution 2244 is approved. Next, we come to the last public comment. This is where the students step up and tell us their name and what school they're from and their teacher. If you would like your paperwork signed for us, please.
He didn't tell you about that.
I'm Abby Peterson and I'm from Montague. And I'm here for the government class we're doing. And I need 2 signatures from 2 members and David.
Right. We'll sign them when the meeting's over. Anyone
Miss Maddish
else?
Still your teacher?
Huh?
Miss Maddish still your teacher?
No, it's Mr. Brunson now.
Oh, new teacher.
I'm Ava Cullen and I'm also from Montague and I'm here for government class and my teacher is Mr. Brunson.
You? Anyone else want to make a public comment?
Who's looking at us?
Okay. Anyone on the council want to have any last words?